Sometimes dangers can lurk where we least expect them, especially from those we'd never imagine could harm us. This is the story, the testimony, of a seemingly normal relationship, but one that hides a twisted love, a shattered hope, and a fight for survival. I wish I could tell you this was an isolated case, but we both know it's not. Jane was missing, but she hadn't lost herself or gone into hiding. She'd been abducted by a madman.
I was in Las Vegas. He broke into my Las Vegas apartment and stole me from my home.
Jack, 32 years old, had planned to kidnap his ex-girlfriend for over a year, or at least that's what he had told her as he drove her away in his van, after snatching her from her home against her will despite her screams. Perhaps he thought he could get away with it. But unfortunately for him, there were witnesses who had watched in terror as the abduction took place, providing the police with an accurate description of him and his vehicle. It wouldn't be easy to find him and bring him to justice, as all they knew was that the girl had been taken from her apartment and, to prevent her from struggling to defend herself, he had handcuffed her. The officers had no idea where he intended to take her, and when they stormed Jane's house, they found only a knife and signs of a struggle in her apartment, but no clues to their escape. Unfortunately, that's when the police realized they were running out of time, as Jack was known to be unpredictable and dangerous. His reputation preceded him, having gotten into trouble with the law multiple times before. Fortunately, 12 hours after her abduction, Jack's van was spotted driving along US Highway 84, and the police began the most terrifying search of their careers. When the police managed to intercept the van, they caught sight of a passenger next to Jack and did everything they could to get him out of the car as soon as possible, but they never expected what they found. The girl who stepped out of the car wasn't the missing girl, but Jack's accomplice, 19-year-old Sophie. After the initial confusion, the officers managed to apprehend and arrest the two suspects, but at that moment, the police still had no idea if the missing woman was in the car or even if she was still alive. Suddenly, the officers noticed someone else in the car, who seemed to be tied up like some kind of wild animal. The woman, later identified as the victim Jane, was found bound to the floor of the vehicle. In addition to the intense mental anguish and trauma of the event, the girl had also suffered physical injuries.
He choked me out like 6 times because I kept fighting so hard.
Okay, did you lose consciousness when he was choking you?
Yes, like 6. He choked me out 6 times.
The rest of her account seemed like the plot of a horror movie. According to Jane, Jack's intention was to drag her to a cave or something similar that he had found and created just for her, because his goal was to ask her to marry him and force her to do so if she refused, which is why he even went so far as to chain her up. How he managed to convince Sophie, his accomplice, remains a mystery. Kidnapping is a serious offense in Nevada and naturally carries a heavy punishment. For example, taking an adult against their will for ransom or with the intent to harm them is considered first-degree kidnapping and can carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. From Jane's detailed account, it seems that Jack not only harmed her, but also had even worse intentions. His unbalanced and violent behavior was witnessed even as he was escorted to prison. The Nevada court decided on the maximum punishment for him. There would be no way to save him, as he was subsequently sentenced to life in prison. His accomplice Sophie, it was found out, was actually born male, and as such was judged accordingly. His birth name was Samuel, and he was sentenced to 63 months in prison and 5 years of supervised release. Jane knew her captor, and what had brought them together was love. Although her captors had been brought to justice, she still felt the weight of the chain that had trapped her for more than 12 hours, and after a psychological journey, she managed to move forward. That nightmare will always mark her life, but over time, she found the strength to forgive, not for them, but for herself, choosing not to let the pain define her future.